Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Trina here, and before we get into today's video, there is something I'd like to say. I'd like to let you all know that we have a merch store. Some of the items in it are only available for a limited amount of time. So, if you're interested, go to the description and check it out. Each purchase helps us make more content. Secondly, if you didn't know, only 25% of you guys are subscribed to us. So, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Today, our investigation subject is King, a well-known member of the 7 Deadly Sins heroes. King, also known as Fairy King Harlequin, or the Grisly Sin of Sloth, has quite the collective history, being a fairy over 1,300 years old. Standing at 5'3" in his natural fairy form, he has various outfits depending on the time. The oldest is a sleeveless light blue jacket with gold accents. The undershirt and pants are a complementary darker blue, and his shoes match the jacket in style and colors. A helmet attached to his jacket's hood was the resting place of his oldest friend, Helbram, for a time after his death. Alternates include a gold expensive-looking outfit worn by him in his human form once. His outfit starting at the New Holy War is a slight change, with the blue now serving as a border color for his jacket, with the primary color being gray. His shoes also changed to be more in line with the new design, taking on a thinner, more lightweight look. As for his current manga costume, he traded out his more casual outfit for a black suit with a ruffled neck. King's personality is generally somewhat morally right, tending to be the more caring one of the group, especially when it comes to his not-so-secret love interest, Diane. He can also be one of the level-headed thinkers, even though he has emotional outbursts. His sin comes in the form of his hesitation to resort to violence, and his general lazy nature, preferring to float effortlessly or sleep when he can get away with it. However, get on his dark side, and there is nothing he wouldn't do to utterly annihilate you, particularly if you threaten the things he cares about. His primary cares are his family, including the Sins, his people, and Deanne. As for his long history, we will start at the earliest time we have seen him, far in the past. Around 700 years ago, King ruled as the Fairy King with his sister Elaine, his best friend Helbram, and his trusty spirit spear Chastaful by his side. His land is known as the Fairy King's Forest, centered around the sacred tree and resting on the border between the fairy and human worlds. King was extremely cautious of the humans, but Helbram saw something in them, meeting with them to exchange information for items. The humans had set a trap, aiming to steal the fairy's wings because they believed they might extend one's lifespan. Desperate to try to save his friends, King rushed in, leaving Elaine to protect the forest. However, his efforts resulted in him being almost killed by a tall human with an eye patch. He was saved from the human by Deanne, and she did her best to help him recover. The problem now was, King couldn't remember anything of his past, and blissfully unaware, stayed by Deanne's side, protecting and spending time with her. She became sick, and as King struggled to figure out what to do, the human that had helped them before came to her aid. While she was recovering, King eventually professed his love for her, and she returned his promise to always stay by each other's side, no matter what. Soon after, King remembers his past fully and then finds out that the old human's village was on fire. Upon arrival, he finds the town massacred and sees a person who hunted down his fairy friends from before. They reveal themselves to be Helbram, disguised as a human. King decides this was way too much and fights Helbram, ultimately killing him. After going back and erasing Deanne's memories of him, fearing he could no longer protect her, he's picked up by the Holy Knights. He had been arrested on Sloth's charge for not doing his job as a king and not stopping Helbram's murderous rampage. This arrest is when he met Meliodas for the first time. During his incarceration, events unfold without King's presence, leading to the destruction of the Fairy King's forest and Elaine's death. His people, believing him to have fled, blamed and resented him, leaving another fairy in charge in his place. Fast forward to 15 years ago, King had become a member of the 7 Deadly Sins squad, put together by King Leonis, and led by Meliodas, supervised by Zaratros. Bond drew King's attention for a bit, and he ultimately befriended him, unaware of the reason for his immortality. King also ran into Deanne again, who doesn't remember anything from their shared past. King disguises himself in his humanoid form to help with this, leading most of the currently alive humans to think it was King's standard form. At one point, Bond decided to start stealing dolls from around the kingdom. King waited until he was asleep, then returned them all, and he generally followed him to try to keep his mischief to a minimum. 12 years ago, King and Deanne went with Bond to fight a couple of vampires, and during the engagement, a drunk Bond stole some of King's and Deanne's power, leaving them struggling struggling to fight the monsters. Gother came in to save the day, turning the vampires on one another and rescuing the weakened Sins. This instant started King's resentment of Bon, feeling he was an irresponsible, reckless drunk. 10 years ago, when the Sins are called to gather by Zaratros, they found themselves caught in a setup. Zaratros is dead, believed by others to have been killed at the hands of the Sins themselves. Thus, the Sins broke apart, each trying to make it to the day they were called back together by Meliodas. Sometime after the coup, King returns to his home and finds it destroyed, his sister dead, and the Fountain of Youth gone. Learning that it was Bon who was responsible, King returned to join the Holy Knights to hunt him down and make him pay for his crimes. And now, this is where the story of the 7 deadly sins starts proper. As far as his skills go, he has several useful abilities. There are a few easy to understand ones, like his levitation/flight and his transformation skill. Then there is Disaster, which gives him the ability to modify things on a cellular level to raise or raise just about anything with extreme precision. It mostly seems tied to nature-based manipulation, but he can do other things such as worsen injuries or strengthen poisons and so on. His ability Heart Reading allows him to see the true thoughts and feelings of those around him, to the degree that at one point, he was the only one to understand male when they were in a transformed state. Finally, Dancing Fairy is a rapid punching attack dance passed down by the fairies, although for King, it does little given his strength. King isn't powerfully physically, but he makes up for it with his incredible talent at using his sacred treasure, magical prowess, endurance, and toughness. When we first meet King, he's attacking Bon for what happened to his home. After the disagreements between the two settle following several fights, King informs the group about the divine weapons. The group then sets out to recover them and recruit the rest of the Sins. The kingdom of Leonis is in danger from the Holy Knights leaders, Dreyfus and Hendrickson. Through their encounters with several Holy Knights, it becomes clear that the leaders aim to release the demon race back into the world, and the Princess Elizabeth, now traveling with the Sins, is vitally important to this goal. In the end, despite King growing more powerful thanks to his fights along the way, he is unable to stop them from kidnapping Elizabeth. He also fights to keep Diane safe and separate from her old memories of him. Upon arrival to the capital of Leonis, King faces several foes, including the reanimated body of his former best friend, Helbram. After, King moves to fight against the new demons that have manifested, created from the bodies of Holy Knights by Hendrickson. After defeating Hendrickson temporarily, they venture into the castle, King leading the way. Hendrickson consumed a mighty white demon, massively increasing his power and destroying Bon's upper half. King attempted to finish Hendrickson, but Dark Nebula overtakes him. Hendrickson was about to defeat them all when Meliodas came up with a plan, and King and the others attacked him, and he turned their strength onto Hendrickson, finally killing him. King had been sad at Hawk's apparent death, but then they see that he wasn't dead, and instead had been reborn smaller. Finally, the kingdom could rebuild. Before we get back into the dive, I would like to say that, in case you guys didn't know, we are only one of the many We the Celestials channels. If you have the sugar tooth for great storytelling, please give our What If channels a visit as well. No matter if it's My Hero Academia What Ifs or Naruto What Ifs, we've got you covered. Did we get your attention? Great! Make sure you click the icon in the top right corner or check the description below for the links to the other channels. Now, with that out of the way, let's get back into the dive. The kingdom was recovering and the people were celebrating. Diane asked King out to the festival, much to his pleasure and surprise, and things were looking up. Then, King confronts Bon about Elaine, but Bon insists that he will return to the fairy forest to attempt to bring her back to life. King decides to follow him there, keeping an eye on him. Jericho also followed behind the duo, determined to keep following Bon around. After walking to a wall of mist, they arrive at the restored fairy forest, which pleases King until his people start attacking him for abandoning them. After visiting Elaine's grave, King is being attacked by the fairies again when Oslo comes to his defense, saying he needs to be in Leonis. However, King doesn't think so and instead opts to stay, leading to him discovering Helbram. Helbram had somehow survived as a soul in the helmet he gifted to King, and could communicate with him through it. As they talk, a massive white Albion demon appears and starts attacking the forest. King fights bravely, eventually with help from his people, defeating the monster. They welcome him back as Fairy King, and King is healed from his severe injuries by Bon's blood. King leaves for Camelot to get back to Diane. Diane had her memories erased by Gother, meaning she only remembered the old memories, including her time with King from the past. Gother had used something more serious on her as an experiment, but upon chasing her down, they encountered Monspeed of the Commandments. After narrowly surviving, the team decides to leave Diane be for now to train. Arriving at the Druids' training ground, they find some other heroes to train with, but King doubts Meliodas and his intentions. After the two fight for a bit, King settles to keep an eye on him. They succeed in their training, and Meliodas taunts the commandments a little before discussing his plan. The gang then leaves Istar. As they travel, someone starts to bring the dead back to life with ill intentions, and King heads off to see what is happening regarding his sister, who he believes is now alive. He found her at the Pride Sin's old bar and returned to the group in Vicel. Here, another tournament is happening, with the showrunners being Gloxinia, the first fairy king, and Droll, an old giant king. Both reveal that they are part of the commandments now, and fight in the tournament before being defeated. The whole team except Meliodas is teleported away, and they all watch as Meliodas dies fighting them. After this, King and Deanna are in the fairy forest where Gloxinia and Droll find and capture them. They reveal that they have no desire to be a part of the commandments and wish to show King and Deanna their full power. After allowing them to train using their old memories, Gloxinia and Droll share their past with the Sins. In them, they encounter the original Gother, responsible for the Gother they know in the present. Upon returning, both of them are significantly more powerful and leave to rejoin the Sins. Soon after they arrive, King and Deanna relay their information, including the story of Gother's past. The Leonis king retrieves Gother's heart, but Gother seems to reject the idea of his old memories and cannot cope with his loss. The Sins show him that he is loved and that it's okay to feel sad, and he finally accepts his memories back. After Elizabeth starts acting weird and passes out, Meliodas reveals that the Elizabeth that King remembers from 3,000 years ago was the same one. She was cursed to continue dying and resurrecting and had 3 days left to live now that she had her memories back. King and the others struggled to find a winnable solution to the situation. Continuing, they stop at a town to rescue it, and when Melascula captures Meliodas, the Sins have to fight an army of skeletons imbued with Meliodas' strength. After defeating them, the spirits temporarily possess Deanne, and King eventually has to say goodbye for Helgrim for good. Helgrim sacrifices his soul to the spirit since he was responsible for their death, and then Elizabeth was able to save Deanne. Then, the Sins fight Melascula in a demonic snake form, defeating her. Now, to break free from Melascula's control, Meliodas was overcome by a fighting instinct, and Escanor managed to fight him until he beat him. The problem now is that Meliodas' emotions had been taken from him, residing in the demon realm. Meliodas was still unconscious, and while they worried, Chandler, Meliodas' teacher, attacked. King did an impressive job fighting him, with the help of the rest of the Sins, but they could not match the might of Chandler in the end. When all hope seems lost, Gloxina and Droll show up and take on Chandler, allowing the Sins to escape, but dying in the process. Chandler was still hunting the Sins, and he caught up to them when Meliodas woke up, acting strangely. He declared the Sins disbanded and stated that he was going to become the next Demon King. He then left willingly with Chandler and Elizabeth, leaving the rest of the Sins wondering. After learning Meliodas' true intentions from Deldris, the team is attacked, and Merlin teleports them to Camelot. They regather and return to Leonis, where they find that Ludociel, the Archangel, has returned, inhabiting Margaret. The Sins in the kingdom agree to enter into a pact with the Archangels to destroy the Demon Clan. The Angels put together a collection of people to combat the demon forces, and they meet on a southern battlefield. There, they encounter Sariel and Tarmiel, two more Archangels. A massive fight breaks out, and all that remains of the demons is Estarossa, chasing Derriere. The two new Archangels attempt to fight Estarossa, but suddenly his power explodes, and he easily defeats them. Elizabeth gives herself up to Estarossa to save everyone else, and they give chase, determined to get her back. They find Estarossa again, and it is revealed that he is the fourth Archangel, Mael. He uses his strength, along with his absorbed commandments, to viciously attack the heroes. King's full power manages to awaken, his complete wings sprouting and his power level vastly increasing. He succeeds in separating Deanna and Elizabeth from Mael and protects Elizabeth from a vicious attack. Hearing his heart's true thoughts, King can defeat him finally. As Mael almost gets destroyed by the warring power inside him, he is saved by King and Gother, and bond arrives with Meliodas' feelings. The group heads quickly to Camelot, where Meliodas awaits. King attacks Seldris, and when Escanor joins in, he ends up being defeated. King keeps up the fight against the demon. Eventually, they finally beat Seldris, and it seems they have also saved Meliodas, when suddenly he appears, possessed by the Demon King. The Sins can do nothing to fight the Demon King, try though they do. King sees Meliodas fighting from within his mind against the Demon King, and knows there is hope. Gother uses his magic, and the Sins are all sent inside Meliodas' head to help him defeat the Demon King, protected from the outside by Ludociel and the inside by Meliodas himself. His friends lend Meliodas their strength, and with all their help, they are finally able to subdue and expel the Demon King from Meliodas. Although it is a joyous day, the team mourns that Meliodas and Elizabeth are still cursed, but Meliodas reveals he knows how to remove it. With Merlin's help and Meliodas' Demon King power, he destroys the curses on the two of them, this journey finally done. And yet, the curse remains, and before too long, the Demon King attacks them again, first sending an Endura that King and Bond manage to kill successfully. Then King does his best to fight the Demon King and protect his friends, allowing Gothard to send Meliodas into his mine. Escanor and Deanne use their new immense power to help King fight the Demon King. The Demon King refuses to be stopped, moving from Zeldris' body to Britannia's very earth. The Sins put everything they have into their fight, refusing to back down. The final play ends up being with Merlin boosting all their powers over the top. Meliodas, bouncing the power of the Sins' combined attack around his clones, multiplies it to such a degree that it finally destroys the Demon King. The current arc sees quite the twist as Merlin reveals that she has been hiding something the whole time. She was trying to bring back the physical form of chaos, which created everything in the universe. She used Arthur as a vessel, and the final attack of the Sins to destroy the Demon King was the energy she needed to do so. Merlin has a hard time adjusting to his power, accidentally warping reality multiple times. The Sins eventually help Merlin get Arthur under control and then decide to go their separate ways. King and Deanne have their wedding plans already set, and the future looks bright. This brings us to the current day, fully caught up. King is an important and valuable member of the 7 Deadly Sins, and has had quite the exciting history, am I right? Thank you all for watching this video to the end. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, I'd like to let you all know that we have a merch store. Some of the items in it are only available for a limited amount of time. So, if you're interested, go into the description and check it out. Each purchase helps us make more content. Secondly, I'd like to thank our $5 and up Patreon supporters for helping to fund these videos. Lastly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank the writer for this video as well. Peace out, mortals. Have an amazing day.